I heard recently that 80% of Americans live within 20 miles of where they were born. My guess is nobody in this room lives within 20 miles. Do you?
I was born in San Francisco.
Well, okay. Wrong guess then. More importantly, perhaps, almost everyone lives within the confines of the reality and the person they discovered as children. Nobody tends to move very far away from their comfort zone. For a lot of reasons, one of which is that there's an enormous support system in that space. Even people who often dream of getting away never do. The pull toward the known is a much stronger pull than the pull to the unknown. Going toward the unknown offers all sorts of fears and terrors and uncertainties, and there are thousands and thousands of reasons for not going there. Of course, the simple truth is, the next step is the unknown. But I would venture to say, almost everybody in the world is not aware of that. Almost everybody is pretty certain that the next step they take will land on solid ground. That the next minute will probably be pretty much like the one you just had. And we're pretty sensitive to the possibility of anything shaking that up. We just don't like that. We want things to be as predictable and assured as we can make them. Change is really hard. It destabilizes us. And so we try as best as we can. I'm talking as a species, not necessarily you specifically. But we try as much as we can to stay with that which is comforting and reassuring. And to surround ourselves with people who are comforting and reassuring. Mostly we call them friends. Family is not always comforting and reassuring, but we find a way to make them that. We hold on to bonding and the bonds of our life, which become in many ways a bondage for people, because they hold you in check, and because they are based on a lie. And the lie is that everything that is will stay as it is. Everything will stay the same. We know it's not true, somewhere in our psyche, but we live as though it is. And therefore, there is a constant guard looking out for anything that challenges the status quo, protecting us, if you will, from that alteration. We don't want it. Except for that 20% of Americans, let's say, who do move away from where they were born. What is that? What is that thing that says, I can't stay here? I can't stay in the comfort zone. I can't stay where life is easy. I can't stay where I can predict everything. What is that inspiration that moves us out of ourself, that goes against the grain, that challenges that which is being presented? It's hard to know, but I would be pretty certain, again, that everyone in this room, everyone hearing this talk, are in that group, even if you stayed close to home. Because there is something motivating. And sometimes it's dissatisfaction, sometimes it's untenable. The situation is just not acceptable for long-term survival. There's a kind of a search many times for the next comfort zone, which has a value, of course. But there's a deeper thing that takes place for people, which is kind of called a search. You're looking for something else, and you can't always give it a name. Some people give it a name. Some people are able to say very quickly, this isn't it. It's got to be something other. They are able to reach into the unknown for the thing that is missing in them, the thing that they need to be completed by, to be fulfilled by, to be ennobled by, whatever it may be. There is this sense of a search that goes on. And interestingly, the beginning of a search requires an ability and a desire to adventure. Really interesting. The word adventure, especially spiritual adventure. What is the courage that one must find to throw it all away, in a way, to step aside from the known, step aside from the comfortable, and to move into the unknown, which in fact you've been facing all along? But what is the courage? What is the impetus? What is the thing that it takes? Who is it inside you that has allowed that voice to rise up? And again, every one of you has done that. You have begun something that has pushed you forward, and is done so probably in a search for the missing part, the thing that you need to get, the thing that you think will be out there waiting for you to make you finally feel the thing you've been looking for. That may well be. But often it's something more profound than that. It's what you call the search for, what is this? Where am I? What is the truth? How did this happen? Why am I here? There's this incredible gnawing questioning at the heart of us. And some people give it full voice, and some people it's a little whisper in the back of the mind that kind of goes, yeah, what is this? What's going on here? And it comes up like once every few years. What is this? Then it goes away. And as I've spoken a lot, there's a lot of people who have answers for that question. And a lot of people lurch toward those answers, because then you don't have to go on an adventure. Then all you have to do is go to the corner, whatever it may be, church, synagogue, mosque. And they go, oh, here's what it is. And you go, oh, thank God, I'm safe. And you fall back into enormous comfort. Enormous. And you even find a socializing element that gives you embrace for having not gone on an adventure. It tells you, welcome home, you have found your way, you have found the place you've been looking for, you are there, everything is fine, and you can take all the tenets and the rituals and the precepts of your particular religion or practice and go, oh, I've got it. And you do have it until you haven't, until it's not there, until it starts to become something that you have to question. Because life often brings you to what we call extremity. And extremity challenges everything. The great gift of extremity is that it's really often the purpose of or the initiation of the search. Because all the truths that you've been given suddenly are not adding up. They're somebody else's truths and not your truths. They don't work. And that's very scary, especially if it happens late in life. It's like, what a betrayal. You know, how do I live? How do I get by now with I don't know what's going on? And of course what you'll do is you'll look for a new set of truths. You'll look for somebody else who has them, and you may end up here, for example, or you may end up with, there's so many wonderful teachers out there, but in a way you will still end up with somebody that you're trying to get it from, as though it's going to come from outside in. And every one of these people, if they're authentic, is going to tell you, no. The thing you're looking for is inside. You have to go there. You have to be the adventurer. I am speaking to you because I went on an adventure. And my adventure taught me things that I can share with you, but the most important thing I have to share with you is go on your adventure. You have to do it. You have literally no choice. In truth, death may become the adventure. Facing death may become the adventure. Because that's the first time you absolutely know you don't have a clue. And other people may give you their clues, but you know it's going to take a lot to hold on to their truths, and you need to find your truth. So death is an interesting spark for the adventure, and in the end we all go on it completely alone. We all pass through that void, whatever it is, that black hole of being, into whatever is next, if there is something or nothing. But whatever it is, you are going on that adventure alone. The value of becoming an adventurer while you're still here, while you're still embodied, is that you learn how to do it. You learn what it takes. There's so many lessons in adventuring. And in a way, we celebrate those lessons. Because I'm a screenwriter, I know that we write movies about heroes. Heroes are guys who go on adventures and women who go on adventures. And the most exciting heroes, honestly, is the hero who doesn't want to be a hero. That's the most interesting movie to watch, because the reluctant hero is us. And we know it's us. And we know that that person does not want to leave whatever it is they have to leave. And they always have to leave something. Every adventure is about leaving something and heading into who knows what. And every adventure, in a certain sense, we feel unprepared for. Well, how do I do this? What do I do? And on every adventure, there is usually a mentor or some kind of guidance system that helps you through it. Dorothy found 3 helpers, each one of whom felt totally incompetent. A scarecrow, a tin man, and a lion. A cowardly lion, a tin man with no brain, no heart, that's right, thank you, and a scarecrow with no brain. And yet they helped her, and she helped them. And we all have that. We all have people in our lives helping us on the adventure. And if we don't have them, all you have to do is step out of your comfort zone and you'll find them. Because they're there waiting for you, and you attract them based on your need. Rudy would say no one is expected to do this alone. Nobody. And the only way to avoid being alone is to ask for help. And the first thing to be able to ask for help is to know you're helpless. And being helpless is absolutely essential, because we are all totally helpless. It is so big. The realm we have to explore, the seeking we have to do, takes us through territory we know nothing about. And when you ask for help, the remarkable thing is, it comes. Sometimes it comes from without, and sometimes it comes from within. You know, Luke Skywalker, when he had to save the world from the Death Star, had to take off the computer, take off his helmet. He had to let go of everything he had trained to use. And he heard this little voice and he said, inside him that said, "Trust the Force, Luke. Trust the Force." And that's what he did. Saved everything. If the answer doesn't come from outside, the answer comes from inside. The guidepost, the directionality, the sense of help is both within and without. And when you start to reach for it, you will find it arriving from both places. And you will be on the great adventure of a lifetime. But you have to leave home. You have to leave the familiar zone. You have to step out of what has been comfortable and known and enter into the world where your eyes are wide open and you don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. You just take a step. You know, Lao Tzu said, every great adventure starts with a step. That's all it is. One step. And another. And then suddenly you're on your way. And you're on your way to something much more rewarding and remarkable than the unknown, familiar space that is 20 miles from home. Most people I meet, even on the spiritual journey, have one foot in two worlds. The world of the familiar and the world of the unfamiliar. And they are afraid to let go. They're happy on some occasions, on Sunday mornings, to come here or to go to wherever you go on a Sunday morning. They're willing to kind of make an effort. But a half-hearted adventure will not prove to be successful. You can't make a partial journey to spiritual truth. Either you are on this journey because you have to be, or because it's insisted upon your being it. But if you aren't committed to this path, if you aren't hungry for, driven for whatever the truth is that might appeal and arrive, if you're not ready to do that, it won't come. Half an adventure is not going to satisfy. Rudy used to say, you'll end up with your picture on Life magazine and a house on Schitt's Creek. You know? Okay, you got somewhere, but where have you gotten? You're not trying to arrive at something. You're trying to enter into the what is of existence. The adventure to that will take everything from you. Everything. And unless you're willing to give everything, you will not get there. Because what it requires, excuse me, among other things, it requires you to put you aside. Over and over again, but ultimately completely aside. It requires you to let go of your seeking. And of course, when that finally happens, the adventure reveals itself to have been about arriving where you've always been. That's what it's about. It's about that one thing. To arrive here. And when you arrive here, what you discover is there's nothing but adventure. There is only this. And this, in the adventure, is totality. This is totality. And what totality is not the absolute known, it's the absolute unknown. You arrive in an adventure not at having achieved and established a new space. You arrive at that which is the elimination of all arrival and all comfort. You arrive at a place that is indescribable, without content, that includes everything. So it includes your comfort zone, it includes your familiarity, but it's so beyond that. It's so beyond it. And the incredible thing is, there is no you there. There just is no you. And including that, by that I mean, not that the you disappears, because it doesn't, at least not while you're embodied. But during that period, while you're embodied, the you becomes one with everything. And you can't imagine how molecularly small, how microscopically small you become in the vastness of your being. Your being. You will not get to this. You will not get to this awareness, this truth, this vastness, this absoluteness, if you don't leave home. You won't get there being safe. You won't get there hanging out with your friends, shooting the shit or whatever you call it, or, smoking a joint and having a drink and having a barbecue. I mean, you can do all that. You can do all that. But you have to be able to let it all go. And you have to wander to a place that no one else may be able to follow you. That's hard. To go to a place where your relatives don't know what's going on. Your parents going, I don't know what's happening to you. What's going on with you? And they're shaken up by your adventure, because everybody gets shaken up by this adventure. Because everyone knows this is someone who's finding something they don't know about. People are challenged like mad by your journey. So don't be afraid to challenge them, because if you don't challenge them, they'll reel you back in. They'll pull you back into unconsciousness, they'll pull you back into safety, they'll pull you back into familiarity. And what happens when you're there? It's a temporary state. It's not going to last. And everything in you will know, oh God, I know it's going to end, I know it's going to end, I know it's going to end. And you're so terrified, and you live this life of tension and drama, and then suddenly you get a heart attack, cancer, stroke, car crash, whatever you get, and you know it's coming. You all know it's coming. It's been coming from the beginning. You all know it's there, and that's, you don't want to be 75 or 80 years old and have it arrive and go, oh my God, I don't know, you're so old. How do you deal with it? The great thing is having the muscularity of youth and of energetic system to be able to go out into this full-bodied and go, I'm on my way into the pursuit of the absolute truth of being. How do you get the energy to do that? I don't know. I keep looking at this photograph I keep of myself downstairs, of me at the age of 20 in Afghanistan. And I keep going, who was this guy? How did this guy ever get the courage to leave Detroit, to leave everything that was comfortable, that I absolutely craved? I never wanted to leave home. I never wanted to leave my family. I was totally happy to stay in the bosom of that wonderful, warm environment. Not everybody has that, but I did. And I loved that. On the other hand, I also know I could not spend the rest of my life in Detroit. That was like built in. I just said, get me out of here. And I knew I had to make a choice between my family and comfort and what was then New York or California, something far away. I had to do that. And then when I got to New York and I was in school and all this stuff, there was still something reaching, and I didn't know what it was. And I've told you all this story before, but it was the psychedelic 60s, and my best friend at the time offered me an exploration of another realm of existence, and that cemented it. It went, wow. Nothing I believed was true. Nothing. what do I do now? I had no choice but to look for truth wherever it may lie, and in my mind, it was in Tibet. The Tibetans know and understand everything, so I had to get to Tibet. And then I had to meet the Dalai Lama, and then I had to meet all these other teachers, and then I had to meet Rudy. And Rudy was giving me truth, but his truth was sit and practice and ask for help to surrender, which I kept doing, thinking I would use that to get to what I thought of as a superhero person. I would become, I wouldn't know if I could fly, but I used to have these adventures. I used to be able to do astral travel when I was a kid. Or when I was an adult, but I was in my 20s. I would fly out of my body. I'd move through the universe. I had these unbelievable adventures. And I still, to this day, meet spiritual people who describe these incredible adventures they go on spiritually. And they all think that they're still aiming to get some superhero, powerful embodiment that will come back and they will be that. And that's one of the biggest places to get lost in the spiritual adventure, because the most fascinating thing about spiritual adventure, no matter how far you go in the world, is you always come back to this. You always come back to this, whatever this is. And why is that? Why do you leave the jungles of Peru and come back to this? Why do you leave spiritual outposts in the vastness of other universes and come back to this? Why do you do that? Because this is it. The journey ends here, only it ends here differently than it started, because the filters that made you see this as, oh God, another day, I got to get up, I got to brush my teeth, I got to go to work, I got to do that, that goes away. And you suddenly go, oh, I have to brush my teeth. This mouth, this vast cavern inside this tongue, this toothpaste, this water, this mirror, this person, this day, this infinite possibility, this constant unknown, that's what you come back to. You come back to this, but this is that. That's a big deal. You don't come back to it as it was. You come back to it as it is. And that's the adventure we're on, every one of us. And if you're not on that adventure, get on it. Figure it out. How do you get a hunger for it? I can't figure out who that 20-year-old was in me that hitchhiked around the world. I don't know. But I'm so grateful to that kid, to that guy who just said, I'm going. I sent a letter to my parents, I'm on my way. And I listed, Damascus and Israel and Tibet. And I just said, I'm going to all these places. And I got to a hell of a lot of them. And I'm so thankful. You've got that in you. Otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. I know it. You wouldn't be sitting here. And it doesn't take going anywhere, really. It just takes letting go of the familiar, letting go of the known, realizing there is no known. It's just your mind feeding you this familiar thing that says, I get it. You don't get it. Trust me. It cannot be gotten. Just because it's familiar, just because you have a calendar that says you're doing this in 3 days, isn't necessarily true. It gives you a sense of, I get what it is, and this is what my life is. It is not what your life is. Your life is something so much more remarkable than that. And if you live your life caught in that sense of, I get it, you're never going to get it. Well, not never, because everybody gets it. But I just want to tell you, sitting on your deathbed, facing exactly what I'm talking about, it's a very weak embodied time to get it. It may be okay, you may still go, but why can't you do now? Why wait to that moment? Why wait to the departure zone? You're in it. It's not going to be any different, guys. It's not going to be any different when you're 80, 90, except you're going to have no energy. You'll have nothing. You'll just have to go, it's a horrible thing, and I'm getting there. I'm 73 now, and I go, boy, oh boy, they're taking my energy. It's going. And my mind is going, my brain, my memory, all this stuff's going. And I'm looking at it and I go, bye. Bye. It's gone. It's extraordinary. I hold on to what I can. I'm working out more. I'm exercising. I'm doing all that stuff. But I know it's temporary. But I'm also trying while I'm here to be it, to live it, and to share it. And I'm sharing it with you because I have nothing left to do besides that. And because it's the only thing worth doing in my mind. And the hardest and most painful thing for me is that I can't just tap you on the forehead and give it to you. I do whatever I can that approximates that. But the most I can do is tell you, there's an adventure here. Jump off the diving board. Take the leap. Give up the comfort zone and the familiar and just say, thy will be done. And enter into the universe of the unknown, because that's where you live. And enjoy it. So have a good adventure, everybody. And I really, really wish you well, and I will stay around as much as I can to encourage you. I can hold your hand a little bit, but that isn't worth it in the end. It's my letting go of your hand that will be the best thing possible. It's just wishing you a beautiful journey. And I do. Any questions? Then we'll leave it at that. Thank you all.